Today on Fencer Reacts, something I did 40 years ago today, August 18th, 2024. So those who know me, either personally or online or whatever, know that I have two real passionate activities in my life, aside from the wife, and they are fencing, which is where I make my career. In fact, most of the videos on this channel are dedicated to Army for the sport of fencing. But also there's another one that can best be described to the uninitiated as Olympic level marching band. And I'm not kidding, I'll put a link to a more modern show in the description. You can watch, see how good it is today. It is called Drum and Bugle Corps, and it was the best year of my life. August 18th, 1984 was the second best day of my life, second only to the wedding day 7 years later, and I am still with her. But on this night 40 years ago, I was at the absolute peak of my musical abilities, with 127 other really, really good people in percussion and brass and color guard. The greatest collection of people I've ever performed with. It was my honor to be part of that line. And Blue Devils, or call them BD from now on, are a fairly unique corps in that, number one, they're the most successful corps in the modern era from 1972 on. They started their first trip in 1973 where they took 24th place, which back then was a big deal. Then they jumped to 9th, 5th, and their first championship in 76. They now hold 21 world titles. They have more than, or close to more than, any more caption wins, meaning high brass, high percussion, high color guard, high visual, than any other corps out there. They are the corps to beat every year. Even their off years are really good. This last year, in fact last week, was the championships, and they took third to the Bluecoats out of Canton, Ohio for the second championship. Congratulations, guys. Boston Crusaders in second place, BD in third, and this is the first time since third place in 2006 they've placed lower than second. So a 17-year run of winning or coming in second. That's a pretty consistent organization, especially when you consider they lose about a third of them every year to, we call aging out. There's an upper age limit of 21 or 22 depending on when your birthday is, and every year they lose about a third of the people, and they still maintain the quality. The staff's been consistent for the years. It was one of the greatest organizations I've ever belonged to. It made a lot of me what I am. And we're going to go over it. So I'm going to run the video. I'm going to try not to stop too many times for stories, although there will be some stops, and I'll back up. Please enjoy a thing I did 40 years ago that is still one of the greatest days of my life. Here we go. Okay, I'm in the far left outside arc. I'm the third guy from the bottom. That's my drill spot. That's my original spot. And so here, the show tunes are playing. The opener is called Bacchanalia by the Steven Spiegel Band, followed by production number Latin Implosion by the same band. Percussion feature is Carnival number 9, Second Impression by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Concert is La Fiesta by Maynard Ferguson, and the closer is Like a Lover by Brazil 66. Then we have a short clip of what's called Santos, as what's called Reentry. A very short clip of the end of the opener again, and then what we call the New York Fantasy Tag ending, which does have words to it. I will not speak them because they involve a staff member who I respect greatly to this day. Anybody who marched 80 to 84 will know exactly what I'm talking about. So, 80 for Blue Devils, here we go. Now, if you noticed, the drill form was coming together coming into this drill set. Um, Bacchanalia, Bacchanal is a Roman orgy, and I was at the director's house because he put me up for the night, the very first night they did drill work, and they were talking about the drill and everything and how everyone's coming to the orgy. Well, the drill form was actually moving apart originally, and I'm sitting there, and Mike told me to sit there, be quiet, and just watch and not make any commentary, which I had no problem with. I'm not a drill guy. I have no right to speak up. I'm sitting there watching him do the work, and then I cocked my head, and Mike said, "Are you bursting with creativity?" I said, "Well, yeah, Mike. If you said it was coming to the orgy, shouldn't the drill form be coming together?" And he thought about it and said, "Okay, let's do that." And that's how the drill form came together. That's my one contribution to actually writing the drill I marched. But it shows how open BD culture is to outsiders' ideas. You can get a good idea from anywhere. He didn't shut me down and say, "You shall not speak." It was like, "You have an idea, let's hear it, and we'll consider it." So, and I found it to be a fairly common thread throughout the entire year, and not just for things I did, which there were stories that are coming up, and we'll continue. And that's me right in the center. All 135 pounds of me. I miss those days. This is a great camera pass. I know guys who were in the Corps for 3 or 4 years and got like 1 second of camera time at the very end of their final show. So I got a really good camera pass here. The guy behind me is 14 at the time. I was 20. And John Trombetta, if you ever see this, you will always be a 14-year-old kid to me. Moving on. Here in the first couple of times that was that loud. Another example. This solo was originally duet, which is why Tim is standing behind Dwayne here. We couldn't put it back in the drill after he took the duet part out after Drums on the Rockies in Denver. But when he brought the tune to us to start learning and came to the duet section, they opened the audition to anybody in the line. And I mean anybody, not just the upper lead sopranos. They opened it up to somebody like me. I played fourth soprano, okay, bottom of the line. But I made the first cut. It was originally the second cut was myself and Rick, and we didn't make it. But the fact that they let a rank amateur drum corps guy like me try out and actually make the first cut for what would have been a solo says again about BD. You know, if you can play the part, you can play the part. They didn't look down on the lower guys. Usually in the high school band, the farther down the line, the worse the player gets. That's not the case in BD. I had every bit of the same amount of skill as the upper lead guys. I just didn't have the range. So I played a lot of doubled a lot of lead baritone, played some upper lead stuff an octave down. I think I doubled every but the contrabasses at one point, and we all provided support. It's a group effort in the biggest way. Everybody's important, and they proved that with letting me try out and make the first cut for the solo. Moving on, Resume Hut. Now, if you notice how this line is right here is starting to fold, I'm right about here, and I am the angle setter. So as this line is moving downfield this way, this arm here is starting to fold back into kind of a V shape at the end. My high school band was squad of 4, face direction of march, always marching forward, that kind of thing. I never marched drunk before I got to Blue Devils. Never marched a slide, never marched backwards, whatever. I certainly never done anything where I was setting the angle for a bunch of guys guiding off behind me. And I asked, how do I do this to the staff? And the staff did not say, figure it out, which is a phrase I hate. If I knew how to do it, I wouldn't answer the damn question. They said, okay, here's how the form is going to change as you move downfield. Here's what you have to do to orbit around Julia to set the angle for the guys behind you. And here's what you should see at various points in the drill. Here's where you should be at count whatever. So they taught me and showed me how to do it, not just telling me to figure it out. And that's how you teach people. If they knew the answer, they wouldn't ask the question. If they ask you, how do I do something, answer the question. Help them figure out how to do it, instead of just telling them, figure it out on your own, because that makes resentment. They taught me how to do it, showed me how to do it, and I had no problem with it. Resume Hut. just my own little self thing here. That's me, top of the right devil horn. That's what we call my high mom drill. Now notice we're about halfway through the show at this point, and you guys are not here to get the front to do part of a trio. This guy here did not march the rest of the show. So what I was pointing out, Dwayne here, or Dwayne Schimmel here, he had the screaming sop at the very end of the opener. He was the solo in Latin Implosion. Part of the La Fiesta trio here. He was in a duet in the closer. From this point on, he didn't march the show. He's had 8 sets back, 8 sets forward in the closer, and now is it true BD soloist drill. And I don't remember any other time a guy had a feature or a solo in every brass tune in the show. It's pretty impressive. Now the far left here, John from San Diego State, like me, also a drum corps rookie. He had 1 year left. He aged out Madison Scouts the following year. The one thing I really regret, I still regret 40 years later, is I did not try out for this trio. I could have been right here where Steve is, and the part he played was right in my range. I could have played it easily. To this day, I do not know why I did not try out for that part, even though I tried out for Latin Implosion, which is a harder solo. So that's the one regret I really have. I didn't try for that solo. I may have gotten it, but here we go. Resume HUD. Look at that look from Steve. We saw that on the way home after finals. That's right, the first time he laughed because the look was so intense. It was so Steve. So this was what's called concert. It was really a feature for the guard. So the corps would stand still, a couple of drill sets. The guard does his thing so we can focus on them. This really was the last true concert in the DCI era because the corps went after us. The Garfield Cadets didn't have a concert, and the next year nobody had concerts. So La Fiesta killed the concert era. I'm honored to have been part of that that little thing there. And now for the closer, resume. Hut. cape on the shoe, that's me. And that's it. I am right there, third gap here. I could not hear myself scream. The crowd was that loud. And I will tell you, when you're performing a group that good, I mean, this is the 127 fantastic performers. I was very honored to be a part of it. The greatest positions I've ever been allowed to be a part of. And at the end of the show, at that, when you're vying for a title, and the crowd gives you that kind of crowd love, and it went on for quite a while, you feel like an absolute god out there. Arms in the air, and we call it the thumbs up guy pose, tug, horn up in one hand, number one finger in the left hand. It was something else. That was the last time the New York Fantasy Tag was ever played in full. Percussion had a little bit of, we call it the Darls Bar part of it in the end of the closure the next year. I have not heard it since. I would love to hear BD play it again. It was quite the experience. This was, as I think I may have said earlier, the second best day of my life after my wedding day. It was definitely the best year of my life. I learned a lot about myself doing this activity, and it was 40 years ago today. So that's what I did 4 decades ago, and there we are. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.